Welcome to Big Al's Pancake Stand. We make the world's best tasting pancakes. We're going to go through a business situation here, and in 7 days we're going to record transactions and see if we can figure out the assets, liabilities, and net income for this business. So, Saturday, my friend and I built a pancake stand. My parents let me use their plates, cups, and griddle. This is like the day before the business starts. And I set up this stand in the front of the ATC building on the Owensboro main campus. Now, how am I doing? Well, let's see. I need a scorecard, or maybe even 3 scorecards, to tell how am I doing, to answer that question. So this is kind of a review before we get these scorecards, but here's the review of the accounting equation that we're going to use to see how we're doing. And you should know by now that what I own minus what I owe equals my net worth. Another way to say the same thing would be to say assets minus liabilities equals owner's equity. Now, another thing we're going to do to change this scorecard, which would be basically a balance sheet, is to say that assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. And all we've done is take the liabilities from the first equation and move it to the other side of the equal sign. Now, assets are a list of things that you need to run a business. They usually have some kind of physical existence, usually. You can taste them, pick them up, that kind of thing. And liabilities and owner's equity are the things that we're going to use to pay for these assets. For example, you start a business, you make a list of assets that you need, and then you have to ask the question, how am I going to pay for these? Will I borrow the money, or will I use my own money? And that's what we're looking at. Borrowing the money, which will be a liability from the bank, or using your own money, which is equity, right, basically. All right, so we have these transactions that occur Sunday through Sunday of the next week, of this following week, and we're going to see if we can record these transactions and then see how we came out during the week. Now, again, we're looking for, at the end of the week, what the total for assets are, the total for liabilities, and the total for net income. So let's do this. Here's a grid that we put together, and we're going to have assets equal liabilities plus owner's equity, and we have these different kinds of assets, this liability, and these 4 different types of equity, which we'll deal with in just a second here. So on Sunday, I use my $5 for starting the business, and I take it from savings and put it into the business. Now remember, this is the accounting equation of the business. So what happens is cash goes up $5 under assets, and equity goes up $5 under owner's capital, which is the same thing as the invested capital of the owner, and that makes that side go up. Monday, I borrowed $10 from the bank of mom and dad, so $10 goes up under assets of the business in cash, and we have a liability going up for $10. Notice both sides are going up that same amount on the equal side, and this has to always be the case. Cannot be anything other than both sides have to go up at the same or down at the same rate. On Tuesday, I buy $12 of pancake mix. Well, that's going to reduce cash by $12 because I'm assuming I paid for it with cash, and it's going to increase supplies by $12. Now normally supplies are expenses, but in this situation, and really for this whole class, whatever we buy that starts out as an asset, it's always going to start out as an asset, and as we use it up, it will then become or be transferred over to expense column. But for now, it's something that we'll be using, and therefore we're going to consider it an asset until we use it up. And notice that assets overall didn't change. We just reduced our cash and increased the supplies. We traded cash for these supplies, basically. On Wednesday, I sell $50 worth of pancakes at $1 a piece, so cash goes up $50 under the asset side, and under the equity side, revenue goes up by $50. This is the reason why we're in business, is to sell a product or a service. On Thursday, mom and dad start charging $2 for griddle rental. So what happens is $2 in cash goes down, the asset side goes down by $2, and owner's equity goes down by $2 under the expense column. Next, Friday, my best friend wants $1 for the sign that he made. So we have $1 goes out of cash, and $1 is going to go to reduce owner's equity and the expense column. And then on Saturday, OCTC wants $3 to rent the location out in front of that ATC building. So what happens is cash goes down by $3 on the asset side, making assets go down $3, and it's another expense, so therefore equity goes down by $3 on the expense column. On Sunday, I decided to repay mom and dad. So if I repay them, what happens is cash goes down by $10 on the asset side, and liabilities go down by $10. Notice both sides went down. The asset side went down, and the liability owner's equity side went down the same $10. And then the last thing is I count my supplies, and I've got $8 worth of pancake mix left. If I bought $12 and I have $8 left, that must mean that I used up $4 worth of supplies. So the asset supplies goes down by $4, and the equity goes down by $4 under expenses to show that I've used those pancake supplies or that mix up by $4. Now let's do some totaling. So when I do the totaling to find out how I did, I have $37 in cash, $8 in supplies. That's my total assets, which the first answer would be $45. And then I've got 0 in liabilities, which that's my second answer. And I've got capital of $5, revenues of $50 altogether. And then my expenses are going to be a total of $10. And so my income for the week, which is the third answer, is going to be $40. Now that answers all the things that I asked you to answer on this little sheet here. And now let's do a little bit more in-depth analysis of this. So there's the things that happened for the whole week on this grid. And now we're going to do an income statement. So the income statement would be revenues of $50 minus the cost of the mix, which is $4, and that gives us a gross profit of $46, less the other expenses, which would be griddle rental of $2, sign expense of $1, rent expense of $3, total expenses are $6, and I'll subtract those from the gross profit of $46 and get a net income, again, same thing, of $40. Presenting it like this, where you're breaking up the cost of the mix with the other expenses, that's a more meaningful, more useful way to present the information. We'll talk more about this as the class goes on. Let's see, next we're going to do a statement of owner's equity, which is like a story. What happened to owner's equity from the beginning of the week to the end of the week? Well, at the beginning of the week, owner's equity was 0 because we had nothing going on in the business at the very, very beginning, and we invested during the week. Owner invested $5, which was up here. The income for the week was, we figured out over here, was $40. So that means owner's equity went up from investments and income a total of $45. And let's see, and it went down nothing because we didn't take anything out of the business during the week. So our ending owner's equity is $45. And we can say that the little story is beginning owner's equity was 0 and it ended up being $45. And anytime it increases like this, that's good. That means the owner is worth, the owner's business is worth more, which is good. Now let's go a little further here. Let's see, we've got that net income from the last slide, $40. And we're going to do a balance sheet last Sunday when the business first started, and compare with the balance sheet of this Sunday at the end of this week, and see how those two compare, and see how those two balance sheets are connected to this net income. So assets, cash of $5, and I'm reading from this bottom line, or from this top line up here, and we have total assets of $5, 0 liabilities. Owner's equity was $5 from that investment we made up here at the end of last Sunday. So therefore, our last Sunday's balance sheet was total assets $5, total liabilities plus owner's equity is $5. And if you add the net income for the week, that should hopefully connect with and agree with the balance sheet that we have at this Sunday. So this Sunday, which is really the bottom line right here of this little grid, we've got assets, cash 37, supplies are 8, total assets are 45, liabilities are 0, owner's equity is 45, and that was the 50 minus the 10 plus the $5 for the equity there, that investment. And so 55 minus 10 is 45. And that means that if you look at this, our assets were $5 and we had income of $40, and that gives us total assets at the end of the week of $45. So that's how these two balance sheets and income statement basically are connected together. Something else that's important to notice is that a balance sheet is one point in time. It's like a snapshot. On that Sunday, that's what the business looked like. Whereas an income statement is for a period of time. And this period of time was 7 days. It's more like a movie. So there's our second snapshot at the end of this week. And then one last little thing we're going to do is we've got these balance sheet from last week, income statement from this week, and then the Sunday's current balance sheet. We're going to do a simple financial ratio, but very important to kind of tell one more thing about how the business is doing, which will be return on assets. Return on assets is simply net income, which was our $40, divided by the average total assets, which were going to be 5 plus 45, add them together, which is 50, divided by 2, that's a simple average, which would be 25. And let's do that. So $40 worth of income divided by 50 divided by 2, which is 25, gives us a return on assets of, in terms of percentage, of 160%, which is a wonderful return on assets. Any business who could do that would be just thrilled to death. Now, those are the scorecards. We had a balance sheet, we had an income statement, we had a statement of owner's equity, and then we had a ratio. All these things are trying to help us decide how are we doing. And I think that's it.